Name and constituency, please.
Martyn Day, Linlithgow, East Falkirk.
Would you like to take the oath or affirm?
Oath.
King James Bible, acceptable?
That's fine.
Are you going to do it with your hand upraised?
Yes, that's fine. I swear by Almighty God that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth, her heirs and successors, according to the law. So help me God.
Thank you very much. I want to sign the testimony.
It's Martyn Day. 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 For Martyn Day.
Changes that have come over me these past few days. I've been afraid I might drift away. I've been telling old stories, singing songs. Made me think about where I came from. That's the reason I'm so far away today. You ready? Oh, let me tell you that I love you, and I think about you all the time. Oh, Caledonia, you're calling, now I'm coming home. But if I should become a stranger, know that it would make me more than sad. Oh, Caledonia's been everything I've ever had. That needed proving, lost the friends that needed losing, found others on the way. Well, I kissed the girls, I left them crying. Stolen dreams, yes, there's no denying. I travel hard, sometimes conscience flying, somewhere with the wind. Oh, let me tell you that I love you, and I think about you all the time. Oh, Caledonia, you're calling, now I'm coming home. But if I should become a stranger, know that it would make me more than sad. Oh, Caledonia's been everything I've ever had. So I'm sitting here before the fire, empty room and forest wire. Flames that are cold don't get any higher. They're withered, now they're gone. But I'm still thinking my way is clear, and I know what I will do tomorrow when hands are chipping and kisses flow. I will disappear. Nice enough, everybody then. Oh, let me tell you that I love you, and I think about you all the time. Oh, Caledonia, you're calling, now I'm coming home. But if I should become a stranger, know that it could make me more than sad. Caledonia's been everything I've ever had.
Kenny Muir, friend of Martyn's. I've known Martyn now for many, many years. We're fellow travellers and have been members of the SNP for 30 plus years, probably in Martyn's case slightly more. And I can't recommend him enough as a local candidate, someone that just loves West Lothian, loves Linlithgow and East Falkirk, and champions the ordinary person as well as those with an influence and power in the area. More than that, he's also a fundamentalist nationalist. In other words, independence, nothing less, is his trajectory. And if you vote for Martyn, then you can be absolutely guaranteed he'll lead the torch on behalf of the constituency in that connection, making sure that we don't stop until we get independence. Independence, nothing less. And also someone that just absolutely loves his local parishioners, I would say even. He's a very, very good constituency MP and absolutely loves championing the underdog and those in need.
That the SNP is family, and it doesn't matter if it's in the north of Scotland or it's in the south of Scotland, we're here to win this election, and I couldn't think of a better candidate to come together for this evening. I was saying on Thursday, and I'll say it again tonight, that at the moment there feels like a lot of unknowns going into this election. We don't know when it'll be. We don't know exactly how long it will last. We don't know how many times we're going to be back here again auctioning to raise funds for the campaign. But we do know some things. We do know that it will happen, and it will happen this year. And we do know that it really matters that the SNP wins it. It really matters that the SNP wins it. Fiona was talking about why she joined the party in the first place, and I was thinking back myself as to why I joined the SNP. And I didn't join the SNP just to win the next election. I didn't join the SNP just in order to deliver one particular manifesto or one particular devolved policy. I joined the SNP because those who encouraged me to join gave me one of the greatest gifts you can give any citizen of this country. And that is the gift of self-belief. The gift of believing that we are enough, we are big enough, we are smart enough, we are wealthy enough to do things differently. And if you look at the election campaign that's already unfolding, it's a bit of a joke south of the border, because the Tories and Labour are basically fighting over who's been the biggest disaster for this country over the last few decades. And yes, people are incentivised, who wouldn't be incentivised to vote out the Tories once and for all after over a decade of failure running affairs in London. But I kind of think that if our ambition is just to replace one party who doesn't really care about Scotland with another party that doesn't really care about Scotland, then we are not reaching that ambition that was set for me when I was first encouraged to join the SNP, that vision of self-belief. Because what's at stake in this election is absolutely massive. And I actually think that this election is one of the most important that we've fought for years. Yes, we say that every election. But this one really matters for one big reason. They think we've given up. They do. The mainstream media and others think that we're going to give up. They think that in the 10 years, this will be the anniversary of a decade since the independence referendum, and they think we're going to give up. They think that all we care about is winning an election. All we care about is our reputation. All we care about is being the biggest party. And that's not what we've cared about since we all started campaigning for the SNP. We don't just care about winning our manifesto. We don't just care about ensuring that we're the biggest party. We care about fundamentally changing the way that things work in Scotland so that the next generation can grow up without having to just mitigate the problems that exist. And I'll give you one great example that we are dealing with right now around the cost of living. It's on everybody's minds, and I know that Martyn Day's been doing a lot of that when it comes to his own constituents in terms of energy costs. Did you know that Keir Starmer pledged, essentially, during his own leadership campaign, that he might nationalise energy companies? Do you know what he's going to do now? He's not going to do that at all. And so, if we pin our hopes on another Westminster party that comes in making big promises and then fails the next generation once again, then we're just going to be in this hamster wheel going round and round and round. And we believe in something different, in something better. But that is why this election really matters. It matters because they have written us off, they are dismissing us, and they think that we're going to give up. And I think everybody here tonight has shown that we do not give up, because there is something so profound at stake. There's something fundamental at stake. And it's about rewriting the rules of democracy, it's rewriting the rules of representation, and it's ensuring that our future is better than our past. After tonight, I'm going to be getting in the car and I'm going to be driving up the A9 to the Highlands, and a couple of you already have been asking about my little girl who's up in the Highlands, 18 months. And when I was 5 or 6, my uncles used to take me out campaigning, and I'm 33 right now, and some of you have been campaigning for a lot longer than that. But that still feels like quite a long time to be coming along to fundraising events, to be raising money, to be buying stuff that you may or may not want, to be taking part in auctions, to be speaking in debates, and to still keep going on and on about our self-belief that Scotland has a better future ahead. But I think our commitment is that we will keep doing that until we have delivered it, until we have secured it. It may be 10 years since the independence referendum. It may be another 10 years, but we will not give up, and that is what sets us apart. So just really briefly, before I close, I wanted to give 3 ideas for this election which I think will set us apart. The first is this, and it's about democracy. When you go to the doors and campaign for Martyn, you can campaign for a brilliant MP. You can campaign for someone who is accessible, who cares about constituents, who knows this area like the back of his hand and will work night and day to deliver. But you're also going to campaign for something much bigger. You're going to campaign for that individual and that constituent to have a voice through independence. A voice which matters. A voice which doesn't just look at the nonsense that's happening in Westminster and see 2 out-of-touch parties battling with each other. You can promise them a proper democracy through independence. The second thing that you can go and say is, we care as a party about workers, and we care about an economy that works for you. We recognise that some of you are working 2 jobs and you still can't make ends meet. We recognise that your mortgage or your rent or whatever your bills are feel completely impossible to stay on top of. We recognise that, and we'll do everything that we can. We'll fight for an energy rebate, we'll fight for more financial support for you. But that is not the limit of our ambition. Our limit is to completely change this economy so that it does deliver for people. So the fact that Scotland is generating billions of pounds for the UK economy, and yet ordinary workers don't even taste any of that. We want to completely change the Scottish economy again through independence. And the third thing will be around our public services. Because at the end of the day, the sustainability of our public services only happens when our economy is growing and prospering. The Labour Party used to believe in nationalisation. Now they're suggesting that they're going to open the doors to privatising the NHS. Not in Scotland. And so we'll talk about standing up and being Labour's conscience. We'll talk about the fact that with SNP MPs, you can guarantee that Scotland's voice will be strong. But that is not the sum of our ambition, just having a strong voice in London. What we care about is having every single power that matters in Scotland, so that you don't have to send Scotland voices to London to try and influence what happens in Scotland. You make all the decisions here at home. And you know what we'll say about that? We'll say, that's normal. It's not radical. It's perfectly normal. And if other countries that are not anywhere near as wealthy as Scotland can do it, then why not Scotland? And that is the vision that we take to the doors. Yes, it's a vision to win the next election, because that matters. Yes, it's an opportunity to show that we ain't given up. But thirdly, each of these elections, every single one of them, that you fought and that I fought, has been an opportunity to further the case for independence. And so as I come to a conclusion, I hope that you are excited about the opportunity that lies over the next few months. Because you know the difference between us and the other parties fighting for this election? We know why we're fighting. We know who we are, and we are confident in our vision. We know that the stakes are high, and we will give everything that we can to winning. Because nobody else is going to win Scotland's future for us. The only people that care enough to deliver that future are those who have the most to gain from it. And the people who have the most to gain from Scotland's future being in Scotland's hands is the next generation. It's the kids that are growing up. They may not be here tonight, but I guarantee that in 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years, when the history books are being written, they will thank us for not giving up. So get behind Martyn, get behind the SNP, and get behind that vision, because it's coming yet. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Kate.
My name is Praveen.
Yeah, and where do you stay?
In this area, in the Edinburgh area.
In Lithgow.
Yeah.
In Lithgow. And you've come along to Martyn Day's event tonight.
Yes.
So why do you think Martyn should be the MP for this area?
I think it's first of all it's an exciting time for Scotland, and then they're really looking forward to SNP getting back into power, and then Martyn being a very I would say very proactive public figure who has really contributed to the progress of this area and Scotland as a whole. So I think giving him one more term is going to be.
So how long have you actually lived here?
For the last 5-6 years.
Yeah. And where did you stay before that?
I was in St Andrews.
All right.
But I'm originally from Kerala in South India.
All right. Yeah. And what brought you here then? I mean, was it work, or did you have family or something?
For work, yeah. My family is here. I've been in Scotland for almost 15 years now. So.
All right.
Yeah.
And you like it?
Yeah, I like it.
And would you like Scotland to be an independent country?
Yes, I actually voted for yes last time, but I think Scotland has its own character, and can do make its own destiny. So I think there's a strong argument for Scotland to be a progressive nation in its own right.
Mr. Alexander and
Mrs. Alexander.
oh, so gosh, a happily married couple for how many years?
A long time, 44.
44 years. You don't look old enough.
No, I don't.
So you've come to Martyn Day's adoption night. So why did you come?
We've come from Falkirk. We're in Michael Matheson's constituency. We've known Martyn for many, many years, long before he was an MP. And if there's anybody deserves to win based on hard work, it's Martyn, for definite. But he's one of the SNP's good guys. I think he always will be.
bidding farewell to them too. Sing wrong instead of which to share the sun goes soon. Come along, let us put it out together. Come along, be a fair stormy weather. The hills along the forest and the purple of the heaven. Sing your happy chorus, come along.
I want to start off by saying thank you to Martyn. I've known Martyn, not personally, but I've known Martyn since I was a young boy as well, at the age of 5, when I used to attend conference with my father, the late Bashir Ahmed. But I actually got to know Martyn personally when I stood for Falkirk. That's another story, as some of you don't know. Martyn approached me after the first hustings and he said, "You've done really well, you know, you're probably the best speaker, but I'm not going to support you." And I thought, you know what, I've heard this before, a lot of people say you're a great speaker, but I'm not going to. But he was actually genuinely, you know, the authenticity that came out from Martyn is very unique. You know, I've met a lot of people throughout the SNP as well, throughout my life, but he's one of the most genuine people that ever came across with the party. He's a lovely gentleman, he's a very humble guy, and you know, he's exactly the kind of representatives that we need for this party. And you know, lately, you know, our relationship became a lot closer because unfortunately the events that are happening in the Middle East at the moment, you know, myself as the convener for Scottish Independence, we've strongly been lobbying all our own MPs as well as other MPs as well, you know, to speak up for Gaza, and what a tremendous job that they've done. I am proud to be a part of this party, the only party on these islands that is standing up for humanity. There's no other voice in this whole country, whether you know, within Scotland or within the United Kingdom, that can actually stand up for humanity. And if they cannot stand up for humanity, you know, where children are being bombed, where people are being driven from their houses, where people are being assassinated by snipers, how can they stand up for humanity, you know, on these islands? And you know, we've got a choice, like the previous speaker said, and like Kate just mentioned as well. We've got a choice, and Scotland's only choice is the SNP. It's always only been the SNP, because the SNP is the only party that stands for Scotland. All we're looking for is to make our own decisions. We might not get it right. It might not even be the SNP that comes into power once we're independent, but that's our choice, not London's choice. And you know, the way things are going at the moment, I mean, you know, Anna Server, he's, you know, his election, you know, what he's trying to say is, I'll stand up to Keir Starmer for you. I mean, we don't need a Scottish Labour leader standing up to a UK Labour leader. You know, we don't need that. So why would we vote for him? We've got a fantastic team, and we've got a fantastic group of people. People like Keir Starmer, Lewis Cedar. I mean, I think Keir Starmer's really confused because all he does is U-turns, you know, up and down. And I really would like to know how he passes driving test. You know, it's unfortunate, you know, that things are just getting worse and worse. Every election comes, the leader down south gets a lot. I just don't know how they make it up, you know, and it's terrible. And Martyn, you know, the things that he's done recently for Gaza, and I know he's done it for his constituents as well here. He's working tirelessly, and it's us, you know, he's given a lot to this constituency, he's given a lot to this party, and it's us activists that we now need to give him the support to get back elected in office. And the only way we're going to do that is if we chat every single door. I remember a time, and I can see a lot of faces that will remember this time as well, is where the SNP never used to believe in polls. We used to hate them, we used to just defy them. The first thing that you know, previous leaders would say at conference would be, "Oh, the polls are always against us." The polls are against us at the moment. Let's not be, you know, we're not where we were 5 or 10 years ago. But it doesn't matter, because we should not be taking any vote for granted. And I know in fact I'm the only elected member that's not on this table, and every single one of these elected members I know doesn't take a vote for granted. And we need to chat every door. And it's not just the people that are undecided. We need to motivate our own activists, our own voters again, because a lot of them are disenfranchised, and we need to tell them that, you know, the events that have been happening recently, the only choice really is independence. last 2 years have been troubling for the party. You know, it's been a difficult situation, but only difficult situations will bring us out stronger to where we're going to go. And hopefully we can go there together as a party. And it's great to see, you know, we all come out for Martyn, and I hope that, you know, we can all get to the doorsteps for him as well. Thank you very much.
I hear you're not bad at auctions. Shh. Still talking at the back. I won't call out your names, you better be careful. And I said, I am. He said, well, I need to raise a few bob for my adoption night. And I said, absolutely. Because Mark's one of those guys you really, really, really want to be working alongside. Not only is the funniest man I know in Parliament, but he's also an international star, are you not, Martyn?
Well, sometimes, yeah. I have travelled the world on the back of a haggis, thanks to you. You've seen haggis.
Well, we have indeed, but I wasn't quite going to go to the haggis, but you're quite a celebrity in South India, are you not? I know you're in the press, in the media.
Yes, I've been in the press in a few places. Usually for good reasons in South India, although in other parts of the world, the list of countries that you visit is smaller, and that's the same problem.
Yes, he's trying to embarrass me here, but I'm going to be the one who's doing the embarrassing. And you're also a BAFTA winning, Emmy Award, Oscar filmmaker, is that right?
Well, I must have missed the awards, but yeah, there's certainly a few films out there.
So I'm really pleased to have Martyn in his elevated role tonight, because he's going to be the hostess of the hostess. He's going to be glamorous. He's going to be charming, he's going to be walking around with the objects that I'm going to ask him to be auctioning tonight. So, can you lock the exit doors, please? Get your wallets, your credit cards, and your purses on the table. Because if you haven't won a prize tonight, you're going to be forced to buy something tonight, one way or another. And if I don't hear the bids going up, I'm going to come and pick you.
When I joined the SNP, the headquarters of the SNP were actually in Elmbank Street in Glasgow. That was the official headquarters. The real headquarters were actually in the Leroy Bar in Bowness. Roch the wind in the clear day's dawn, blaws the clouds, heels their gaudy o'er the bay. But there's more nor a roch wind blowing through the great glen of the world today. It's the thought that'll gather rottens of the rogues that gang gallus fresh and gay. Take the road and seek other loanings, for their ill ploys to sport and play. Nay mair will our bonny callants march to war whilst John Braggart's cruisely crawl. Nor we wains they mid-heed our plachen march to ships sailing down the broomy law. Broken families in the lands we've harried, Loch of Scotland, the brave, nae mair, nae mair. Black and white, ain't together married, max the vile barracks of their masters bear. So come all ye, a team we freedom, never heed what the hoodies croak for doom. In your house, all the bairns o' Adam will find breed, barley brie and painted room. When MacLean meets with friends in Springburn, all the roses and games will turn to bloom. And a black boy beyond Nyanga dings the fell gallows of the burgers doom. Roch the wind in the clear day's dawn, blows the clouds, heels their gaudy o'er the bay. But there's mair nor a rough wind blowing through the great glen of the world today. It's the thought that'll gather rottens of the rogues that gang gallus fresh and gay. pack the road and seek other loanings for their ill place to sport and play.
Hi, I'm supporting Martyn Day, who's a great campaigner for his constituency and for Scotland.
Right, my name is Blessed Matthew, and I'm originally from India, from a state called Kerala.
And how long have you lived here in Scotland?
I've been here for 15 years.
And why do you think Martyn Day should be our MP for the Lithgow and Falkirk and all?
So I've heard that he's a very kind person, and he does a lot for his constituents. So that's why I support him.
And you met him before?
Yes, I have met him before. Yeah.
And what do you think of the guy?
Oh, he's a fantastic personality. Yeah, and you know, he talks very well, and he always listens to you and listens to your problems and ensure that your problems are heard and addressed.
And of course this week, for those of us who are elected members, we get sent this Holyrood magazine, and it sometimes majors on particular elected councillors or MSPs or MPs. And this week there was a particularly well-dressed, suave, debonair MP bearing a slight likeness to Martyn, but I have to say I didn't recognise him. He's way too smart. And in it asks some questions about him, and it's incumbent upon the person who's being interviewed to either answer the questions honestly, but of course all politicians will by necessity answer the questions they wish had been asked, not those that they'd actually been asked. So I have to say I read this particular article with interest to see to what extent Martyn was telling porkies. So let's have a little browse, will we? So, yes, so here we go. It says, yes, it does mention his vlogs. Anyone seen Martyn's vlogs? Yes. Anyone watch Martyn's vlogs? No, don't answer that. Don't answer that. But the bit that caught my eye was it said, "What's your guiltiest pleasure?" And Martyn at this point did fess up and say he's got a sweet tooth. But he missed out the bit where he's actually altered Activate for his constituency to identify which constituents he can go and visit, they'll offer him a free meal, which constituents will offer him several puddings, and which constituents will let him take the leftovers home. You missed that bit out, Martyn, and I know the truth on that. And of course he says, what's your top film or TV programme? And he quotes something called The Wild Bunch, and of course that's a story about a troupe of ageing outlaws plotting. Pretty much sums up a bit of this table, to be honest. And of course we have to mention his shirts, the yellow shirts. Now, I mean, Martyn learned a lot when he was involved in banking, principally how to save money. And I think he took that pretty well. So, who else has how many? 8 yellow shirts?
I bought 24 of them.
24 yellow shirts. All of them look like they need a good wash, even when they're clean. This is the Martyn that we know and love. And of course, I asked around tonight for some stories about him. And Martyn doesn't just save money for himself, he saves money for even the UK government. When he was first elected, I remember meeting him and John McNally, and they're saying, oh, we're way back to John's for supper, but we don't have any place settings to put our takeaway in. But then, of course, they'd stolen some of the order papers ready to put their takeaway on. And of course, let's talk about the hotel that you made you and Ian Sinclair stay in. Apparently, the key for a no very good hotel is when it smells of peppermint. Now, I didn't know this, and you might not know that, but if you walk into a hotel and it smells of peppermint, peppermint is something that rats really, really hate. And this is where the bold Martyn took his staffer and then became my staffer and is now a local councillor.
Traumatised.
Yeah, traumatised, he says. He just does so well in the constituency. And then, of course, being honest and being serious for a minute, another bit that jumped out at me, what skills should every person have? And Martyn said, there's a great Gandhi quote which is genuine. You can't help everyone, but everyone can help someone. I think that sums up the whole ethos of life. The truth is that sums up the whole ethos of Martyn's life. He's genuinely the most solid, decent guy I've come across. And I have to say, I very much appreciated the support he's given me. Really, really solid, long-term nationalist. You know, I mean, you've been there, and we really, really appreciate it. And so I'm actually delighted to be here and helping to compare this event tonight.
My name's Cassie Hanif, I'm convener for Scots Agents for Independence. Martyn is one of the most genuine guys, like I said earlier on before. He is an authentic person. I'm really a credit to this constituency that he's going standing to represent. He's been working tirelessly for the people of this constituency, for the people of Scotland, for the cause of independence, and he's also been a champion for the Middle East and Gaza, standing up for the human rights of the people in Gaza. So I wish him all the luck, I wish him all the success, and we'll see you in the finish line.
I'm Minnie Barclay.
And you've come along to Martyn Day's adoption night.
Yep.
Why did you do that?
Well, apart from the fact that Martyn's a really good friend, and apart from the fact that I've got loads of respect for him, I'm also the convener of the Westminster Campaign Committee, and I'm also convener of the Lithgow branch, so I'm very much involved working with Martyn, and he's fabulous. He's one of the hardest working, he's so respectful towards people, very caring, and a friend.
So who are you?
I'm a Bathgate councillor for West Lothian.
And what's your name?
Pauline Stafford.
Nice to meet you, Polly.
Nice to meet you, well done. It was great.
And tell us why you've been, you've turned up at Martyn Day's event. So what could you say about Martyn?
It's been nice being out with Martyn the last few weeks. He's a very enthusiastic campaigner. He clearly cares about his constituents and loves chatting to them and finding out what their lives are like and why he thinks they should vote for independence.
And I'm going to hand over now to Fiona Hislop, who I think is going to be altogether fine. Thank you.
So good evening everyone and welcome to Lithgow. This is my hometown. It's great to see people from over the hill from Bo'ness and also over the hill from Bathgate all coming together to make sure that Martyn Day gets elected whenever the election may come. So this is an area that Martyn grew up in, just up the road. I'm not sure if his mum and dad are here, but certainly in terms of his community sense, it was grounded here in the town of Lithgow. And I remember, Martyn, when you first got elected by 19 votes. 21. Oh, 21. Don't do it out of 2 votes.
The second recount was 19.
And that was the second recount, okay. So this is where Martyn is from, and this is the heart of his, I suppose, bringing up and where he's from. Can I first of all give apologies from my husband? Those of you who know him, Kenny Anderson. He is the constituency organiser for the Parliament. I'm afraid he's at another whisky festival. Last time we were here, and the Lithgow branch could see, we had a fantastic race night organised by the team there, and thank you again to Ali, our new organiser for the branch, for the work you're doing here in the town. And unfortunately, my whole family turned up after going to a whisky festival, but they spent lots of money, so they turn up, welcome. So I'm afraid Kenny is not here. He's with you in spirit. I have no idea if it's Glenfiddich or Talisker or what it is, but he'll be with you in spirit. But I want to reflect, and I think for those of us, and you may know each other, but if you don't, take an opportunity tonight to talk to somebody you don't know and say, why are you an SNP supporter? Why did you join the party? And I joined the party in 1986. And I wanted to see international poverty and child poverty tackled. I wanted to see nuclear weapons off our shores. And I wanted to make sure that the miners got a decent response, because I thought the Labour Party was failing them at that time. And roll forward and think about where we are now and all the changes that we've come through. And we've had challenges. We didn't win the last referendum, but we will win our independence for Scotland. And this Westminster election is a staging post on that. And I've been in government, I'm back in government, I was in government when we first came in 2007. And the SNP wanted to demonstrate, and are demonstrating, despite all the problems that there are, despite all the challenges financially, that we can have a system of government that is based on the values of the people of Scotland. So why did I say what I did about why I joined the party? Because I was the External Affairs Secretary when we increased our budget for international development. We may not have the powers on foreign affairs, but we can help where it matters. And only today there's investment support for the refugees from Sudan. We also were the party that supported UNRWA, and if you look at independent Ireland, just as the European Union is starting to reinvest in UNRWA, look at an independent Ireland who have always stood for a ceasefire in Gaza, who have stood by their support for UNRWA and international development and the people of Gaza. That's what you can do when you're independent. And tackling child poverty. We have a government now who, despite all the problems we've got financially, just this week it was announced that because of the new powers that we managed to get from Westminster, with the investment and the policies we have, 100,000 children who were in poverty before we got those powers have now been lifted out of poverty. That's the difference in SNP government. Why did I mention the miners? Now, I wasn't even living in West Lothian at that time, but I saw a Labour Party that was more interested in power and winning the southeast of England votes than they were in defending properly the communities that were suffering. And why does that matter? Because we know in the communities where we live, in Armadale, in Blackburn, in Whitburn, in different areas, there are generations that are still suffering because of what happened in the 1980s. And then you look at the Labour Party now, are they the party that will defend the working class in Scotland? Are they those of Keir Starmer who's ready to flip-flop and change his position in order to get power? And the Westminster system, it doesn't matter if you suddenly, maybe once in a wee while, you'll get a Labour government, but I tell you, the establishment will only let you get a Labour government with a leader and a prime minister that they can have in their pockets to make sure that they can then ensure that the powers that will always profit from the system of government and the system that we have at Westminster, that they will always be okay. So if we want real change, if we want to be the type of country with the values that really reflect Scotland, then that's why we need to make sure we're independent. And I want to challenge you all as well, because we cannot and have never been a passive party. We are a party of activists, and everybody can do something. If you want to help out with the administration, that helps somebody else leaflet. If you want to help out leafleting, that helps somebody else do the voter ID. And I'm proud to say, I think are we still number 2nd in the league table? 3 weeks running, we're 2nd in the league table. That's not a massive amount of people. That's a few of us coming out regularly and making sure we're doing that voter ID 1 minute on the door and we're getting information. And I've just realised my phone isn't on silent, because the other thing about Martyn is he sometimes disappears when he's not meant to be inside houses, and that's why I've got my phone on to try and find him. So if it goes off, I apologise. So each and every one of you can do something. And you're not doing it for yourselves, you're doing it for your community and you're doing it for your country. And every so often, and I understand that when you've been in government, you've been in the council administration, sometimes there are individual decisions or individual policies that you don't like. But the SNP and the cause of independence is much bigger than one decision or one policy or one government or one council or one person. And that's what all of us have to raise our eyes. Remember, ask people, why did you join the SNP? Why do you support the SNP? And remember, we have dedicated people at every single level of government. We've got councillors here, we've got former leaders of West Lothian Council, Peter Johnson, who's obviously here as well, Davy Alexander, lovely to see him as well. People that have been in this party and supported from way back. We've got people in this room whose families, the Woos, grew up with the SNP. We've got people that might have joined last week or the week before or the month before. Every single one of you is welcome. And just to remind you, as we keep our eyes on the horizon of where we want to be, I remember how we all felt after 2014. And I was sitting at a consular dinner in Edinburgh, a lot of disappointment from our European diplomatic friends. And the guest speaker, the main speaker, was the journalist and author Neil Acheson. And if you haven't read his book, Stone Voices, I recommend you do it. He was a journalist, wrote a lot about Eastern Europe and Poland. And he was a remarkable man. And he said to me, he says, but Fiona, don't be too downhearted. He says, the people of Scotland always take their time about things. And they always do it on the second asking. So it wasn't William Wallace that got the freedom. It was Robert the Bruce. It wasn't the 79 referendum that delivered devolution. It was the one in 97. So we might not have done it in 2014, but we will do it. And the person that will help us in this charge, in the next battle that we have ahead of us, is Martyn Day. Get behind him, hands in pockets, come out and work. Everybody can do something. We are an active party. We will deliver for Scotland. But every single person in this room must work hard to get Martyn Day elected in this constituency. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that.
I've known Martyn for 3 decades, and every moment of the time that I've known Martyn, his commitment to the cause of Scotland has never wavered. Now that he's an MP, he's a bigger, more impressive, more developed character than he's ever been, and I hope that the people of this area vote for him once again, because he'll be a great campaigner on the road to Scottish independence.
I'm Campbell Gunn. I was a former political editor for the Sunday Post and then a special advisor to Alex Salmond and to Nicola Sturgeon. And I've been a friend of Martyn's for, I hate to think, decades, probably for 30 years. I used to live in West Lothian and we used to have some great times, social nights in West Lothian, and I think Martyn has been a great MP for the area, and he will be a great MP in the next election.
A wonderful, honest and loyal man, and good luck when the general election happens.
Martyn, you're going to give us some remarks. Thank you very much. Martyn Day, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you all very much for coming along tonight. It would have been a bit boring without you, to be perfectly honest, but it's good to see so many of you here and to see such enthusiasm and energy. I suppose this is the part of the evening that I think of as the Roseanne Cash moment. Now, you might not know what I mean by that, but Roseanne Cash is the daughter of Johnny Cash, a very accomplished singer, songwriter, musician in her own right. But she made a point of saying when she makes up a band, she makes sure that every other performer in the band is better than her. And I think I've tried to do that tonight with this top table, so thank you very much for coming on and taking the part. And part of that same ethos is that each and every one of you has a talent and a skill that we can use in this campaign to good effect, and by God, we need every one of you doing every bit that you can. Now, there's a wee story I've told, and some of you will be sick to death of hearing this story, but it's a great story and I'm going to keep telling it. Back in 2018, I went across to India for my first visit to meet with Nadia's family. And if you've heard the story, you know what's coming. But amongst everything else, we got caught up in floods, we got caught up in everything, and we ended up going around various relatives. And one of the relatives we went round was Nadia's great uncle, Mr. P.E. Narayanan. Now, he's laughing because when I tried to do a video about Mr. Narayanan, I could not pronounce his name, and we took about 20 takes on this video. But anyway, the story... 42. Well, at least, yeah. But the story of going to meet P.E. Narayanan, he was 99 years old in 2018, and he'd been involved in the Indian independence struggle. And we were in, and we had a chat with this old boy for about 3 hours, and it was a brilliant chat. I love my history anyway. And he told us about the things that they got up to and the things they were doing. And he was working for the British at the time. He was a member of the Congress Party, and he was leaking information to the Indian nationalists and Indian communists and keeping them ahead of arrest. And that was his role. I was taking a bit of risk, and we had a long chat and he told us the tricks that the British played and they tried to divide and rule, they tried to keep the different parts of their movement separate. We must not fall for any of that. So if you see something you don't like, just hug your wrist a wee bit and then maybe have a quiet word with the folk rather than shooting at them on social media, right? And I think that's sort of modern day equivalent of that. But as we had this conversation, it was a fascinating chat and of course ultimately successful in their campaign. And after that, he joined the Communist Party and he was involved in the first democratic election victory for the Communists anywhere in the world. So he was part of two amazing electoral processes, and he shows an example for us of political realignment after independence. Anyway, we had this marvellous conversation, and at the end of it I asked him a question. I said, I've always wanted to ask someone involved in an independence struggle this question. Do you ever have any regrets about independence? And the old boy, and I remember him staring at me with the eyes and saying, yes, I didn't do enough. And that's the ethos that we've all got to take. We've all got to do that wee bit more to get it over the line. I don't know what more he could have done, and I wish I could have had that second conversation to find out what he thought he could have done. Unfortunately, he passed away before I returned to India. But that's the lesson that we've all got to take. Everyone else do that wee bit more. Now, there's a lot of old friends here. I'm not going to name drop everybody. I'm pleased to see Stuart Stevenson here. I was Stuart's election agent in '99. I was the only election agent that didn't get him into Parliament. But notwithstanding that, one of the things we did do in that campaign, we canvassed 22,000 people in the Linlithgow constituency. 22,000. So let's see if we can emulate some of the fire we had when we had our first Scottish Parliament election, because by God, we need to fight with that determination again. We've already canvassed the first 2,000, so we've got 20,000 to go. So I need a bit of help getting there. So any help you can give, get out there and let's do it.
The kiss of sweet Scottish rain, where tropic skies are dreaming, that sets the heart a leaping, longing and dreaming for the homeland again. Towering down in flame, Scotland by hand and pain, high may your proud standards gloriously wave. Oh! Of my high endeavour, land of the shining river, land of my heart forever, Scotland. You obviously don't know the words, do you? Alright, go da 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 da